Welcome to Pageant Planet's podcast, where we share stories and strategies to help expand and connect the global pageant community. Visit pageantplanet.com to find pageants, hire coaches, shop for dresses, and more. Now, here's your host, Stephen Roddy.
Welcome, everyone, to another Pageant Planet podcast. This is the podcast for contestants who want to be inspired and discover how to win the crown. Today, Jessie Ledoux, our queen of coaching, and myself are covering the life of Vanessa Lachey.
This woman, she keeps getting more radiant with age. You may have first gotten to know Vanessa through her relationship with Nick Lachey. As her now husband, Nick was very well known in the television and singing industry. And though the two are often seen hosting events and interviews together, Vanessa has a whole story and life of her own.
I always do think it's so cute, like that they host, like the couples, like the husband and wife duo hosting a show. I just think it's always so adorable when I see them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Vanessa is better known as a television host, actress, beauty queen, and fashion model, from competing in beauty pageants to traveling to being in music videos on numerous TV shows to hosting the biggest pageant events like Miss USA and Miss Universe. Vanessa has lived a very exciting life.
And we all know that anyone with a bit of Filipino culture in them has exceptional potential to naturally do well in pageants. And Vanessa was no different. As a Filipino American, she won the titles Miss South Carolina Teen USA and then Miss Teen USA in 1998. And that was the first Miss Teen USA I ever watched.
Oh, fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, more recently, Vanessa has hosted a multitude of popular TV shows, including ABC's Wipeout, which is always so hilarious to watch, Total Request Live, and Entertainment Tonight. One word to describe Vanessa's upbringing would be adaptable. She comes from a military family, which meant she moved around a lot when she was younger, and she spent her childhood living in the Philippines, Germany, Japan, and in America.
Overall, Vanessa is known as a very kind and humble individual who is always smiling in any role she's playing. And you may think you know her well, but we have so much more to learn about Vanessa together.
So Vanessa was born in Angel City, Pampanga, Philippines, almost 40 years ago. She has an older brother who was adopted, and Vanessa's father was in the Air Force, which meant that he did not settle permanently into the places they traveled to. Vanessa calls her and her brother Air Force brats, which is a common term used for military kids who travel constantly. Within her first 9 years of schooling, Vanessa attended 8 different schools.
And after over 10 years of military service, her family settled down in Charleston, South Carolina. And here Vanessa was able to have a more stable school life. She was able to join a cheerleading, compete in pageants, and could enjoy living in one place.
After her success in pageants, she became a fashion model for brands like BONGO Jeans and Flirt cosmetics, and she appeared on magazine covers for Shape, Lucky, and Maxim. Maxim also ranked Vanessa in its annual Hot 100 issue several years in a row, and she ranked number 15 in 2006.
It was around this time that Vanessa also began her career on television through working on MTV and Entertainment Tonight. And there's no doubt that her success in pageantry and in modeling gave her a great resume to become a successful TV actress, correspondent, and host.
While hosting MTV's Total Live Request, Vanessa interviewed the very famous Hollywood couple at the time, Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson, regarding their relationship and to discuss their show Newlyweds. Over the years, Vanessa and Nick would see each other through the media, but remained as acquaintances. Nick was very well known from his days as a frontman in the boy band 98 Degrees.
Which I loved, by the way. Very underrated boy band from that decade. Like, they were so outshadowed a lot by Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, but 98 Degrees, they were a worthy adversary, in my opinion. But in 2006, when Nick and Jessica's marriage came to an end, Nick asked Vanessa to star in his music video for a song called What's Left of Me. Nick thought if Vanessa starred in the music video, then it would have a much better chance of being played on MTV.
They were both single at the time, and there were definitely sparks flying on set. Vanessa is a very classy woman who respected the relationship Nick had with Jessica, but clearly Nick and Vanessa had a certain chemistry that was missing from his previous relationship.
And a few months later, Nick and Vanessa became one of the most iconic couples in the tabloids. Vanessa remembers them just being kids, figuring themselves out individually and also figuring themselves out with each other.
Yeah, any relationship requires work and growth, and this is what allowed their relationship to evolve into a strong, healthy, and lasting relationship. Vanessa's been married to her husband now for almost 10 years, and together they have 3 kids, Camden, Brooklyn, and Phoenix. And just like a pause here, like, I mean, you and Kevin have been actually together longer than Renata and I have, but I couldn't imagine going through my learning curve with Renata of like what it's like to be a husband, and I mean, all the changes that come with like living together with someone and figuring out life with just all the additional pressure of the media. That's got to add a whole different level of complexity that would make it even more stressful.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure that I'm trying to remember 2006, how heavy social media was in life. And I don't think it was crazy, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But especially when Nick was coming off a divorce too, I'm sure that Jessica Simpson had fans that were hyper loyal and were very critical of Vanessa specifically and her relationship with Nick. There's probably a lot of strain for them to start out.
Yeah. So you said 2006, right?
Yes.
So 2006, Twitter was on there and MySpace. Facebook was primarily just restricted to local college. Yeah. It wasn't until like 2009 that I really started to become aware, and Facebook was like opening up, and and Instagram didn't come on the same until later. So that probably helped.
Definitely.
But it's understandable to me, like why celebrities go crazy. I mean, we're all going a little crazy right now being cooped up in our homes. Well, as if you're a big name celebrity, every time you walk out, it's like, oh my gosh, there's Justin Bieber, you're taking photos or whatever, right? So they're always kind of quarantined and they always have that pressure on them. So no doubt like why some of them break down a little bit and just go crazy.
Yes. And there's actually a quote that Vanessa said that I want to share that feeds into this perfectly. She said, "It's a comforting thought to know that I've got my partner by my side walking through life and all the ups and downs. I know we can handle it. There's nothing too big or too crazy that's going to tear us apart." So she definitely probably felt that chaos, but it's wonderful to know that they've built the support system within each other. And a fun fact is they share a birthday. Nick and Vanessa have the same birthday, and that's November 9th. Nick is a little bit older, but yeah, that's probably a fun thing too in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. So
maybe it's fun. I don't know if I would like that. Actually, perhaps not, because I don't think I would like that very much.
Well, Renata and I birthdays are a week apart. And so, but if we shared the same birthday, absolutely mine would get overshadowed.
For sure.
But I say that, but she's very loving and giving towards me on my birthday. Cause I mean, she's Brazilian. So she celebrates, like over the top celebrates birthdays, but, yeah, so I would be interested to know that dynamic. But Vanessa and Nick, they are very well known, obviously, in the Hollywood community and in the pageant industry. And you may have seen the couple co-host one of the most popular pageants in the States, which is Miss USA 2018. And also they emceed Miss USA 2019.
Nick even serenaded the Miss USA 2019 contestants as they presented themselves in the evening gown portion of the competition. And if you haven't made the connection already, Vanessa's ability to co-host the preliminary pageant to Miss Universe is because of her own personal experience with the Miss USA organization. And I think we get into this a little bit later too, but she's so wonderful on screen. She's natural. She just says what she thinks in a really respectful way. I just think she's one of the best commentators in the game.
Yeah, very classy, very classy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So back when Vanessa's family settled down in South Carolina, this gave Vanessa the opportunity to compete in a pageant. And Vanessa had to convince her parents to compete in pageants and needed to get sponsors to help her cover the cost. And in 1998, Vanessa chose to compete in the Miss South Carolina Teen USA pageant and ultimately won the title.
And the Miss Teen USA 1998 pageant was held in Shreveport, Louisiana, and was hosted by Mario Lopez. And the pageant's commentators were former Miss USA 1996 Allie Landry and TV personality Julie Moran. And although the pageant, those are my favorite days of Miss Teen USA. I'm like reading this and I'm remembering, and those are like the glory days of Miss Teen USA for me. So wholesome, Oh, it was so great. Okay, sorry. I'm reminiscing at the same time as I'm going through. So although the pageant was held over 20 years ago, you can see that there are similar venues and title holders that are incorporated in the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pageants today.
And Vanessa went on to win the title of Miss Teen USA 1998 and was also announced as the pageant's Miss Congeniality winner. And this is the first time the award was won by a contestant from South Carolina. And she also received the highest score ever in swimsuit at the time with a 9.96 out of 10. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's a natural ability of Filipino women to capture any pageant title she sets her heart on. I don't know.
Yeah, either way. Vanessa continued to be involved in the pageant industry in the coming years through judging, hosting, and commentating.
In 2003, she was a judge in the Miss Teen USA pageant, and she also hosted the Miss Universe 2007 with Mario Lopez. And like already mentioned, she co-hosts Miss USA with her husband, Nick Lachey. Vanessa's charming and bubbly personality on stage is what got her voted into the top 10 best pageant MCs by Pageant Planet in 2019. And there's no doubt that winning the title of Miss Teen USA 1998, which at the time was still owned by Donald Trump, gave Vanessa the gateway into the career in television.
And this is a coaching moment for sure. And pageantry allows you to network and market yourself in many different ways. And it may start with local TV and radio appearances or podcast interviews, but one day it can be on national television. So remember that we are living in the era of technology. So be grateful for it. Use it to your advantage during your reign as you compete for a title. Here's one action step you can take. So I encourage our clients to set gigantic goals. So I say, okay, what 3 things, if you could have any achievement during a year, what would they be? And we outline those. And then we say, okay, what are the baby steps that we need to do to get there? And what's the first step? Usually one of those crazy goals is appearing on a major news show like Good Morning America or the Today Show, etc. So we break down what are the steps and we get to their local channels and we start there. So if you're a title holder and you want to get your voice out there and you love TV and you don't shy away from the camera, if you haven't called your local news stations and said, hey, I'm Miss XYZ, I want to do a segment on this, or I'm doing this, are you interested in doing a story on it? Then you're doing yourself a disservice because you can't get to the big stage if you can't prove to yourself on the small stage. And because social media is so crazy right now, you do one amazing segment on a local station, that could get picked up immediately. You might be able to bypass the 11 to 12 additional steps to get to the Today Show or Good Morning America. So don't delay on putting yourself out there in the media if that's a goal of yours.
I love that. And think about Vanessa. Like if Vanessa would have never taken the step to enter into pageants, no way she would have all the opportunities that she has now. It was part of her journey. But when she started, 1, she had to convince her parents. 2, she didn't have money to compete, so she had to get sponsors. And 3, she didn't win right out the gate. So there was a few, there were some efforts there for her, but she went after her goal. So if you don't have all the resources at your disposal, you're in good company. Really listen to this podcast because you can leverage pageantry to achieve all of your dreams. And this is just another case in point.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Vanessa has now appeared on many reality TV and talk shows as herself to share about her career, her marriage, and her life. In 2017, she appeared on Dancing with the Stars against her husband, Nick. Awkward. It was a healthy relationship or a competition between the couple. However, neither of them made it to the finals.
So, and we're going to hop back to her start of her television career. And Vanessa's television career began shortly after she passed on the title of Miss Teen USA 1998. She started out as a host on MTV's Total Request Live for 4 years, which featured popular music videos played during its countdown. Vanessa was also able to interview musicians, actors, other celebrities regarding their artistic works. And another one of Vanessa's initial television appearances was being a New York City correspondent for Entertainment Tonight in 2005. And again, this gave Vanessa the chance to meet celebrities, get first looks at upcoming film and television projects, and had the initial scoop on the news in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, Vanessa became well known as a TV show host for many popular TV shows, including True Beauty, a modeling competition for the chance to be featured in People's Magazine and win $100,000, and Wipeout, a game show series where contestants compete in a large and intense obstacle course, which again is very funny. If you've not seen it and you just get a good laugh at people just, cracking their shin or falling down, you will find it hilarious.
And the more that the entertainment industry saw Vanessa on these popular shows in the media, the more opportunities she received. Again, she's like bomb.com, so of course. And she appeared in several notable shows that includes That's Life, City Girls, 30 Rock, Hawaii Five-0, and How I Met Your Mother, to name a few.
And you're more than likely to see Vanessa host a TV show or appear in an episode of a television series. However, she has appeared in movies before. Back in 2007, she appeared in Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and in 2018, she was in the parody film Disaster Movie.
So this is another coaching moment. So if Vanessa was able to go from being Miss Teen USA to one of TV's most famous personalities still over 20 years later in 2020, then imagine what your pageant title can do for you. Especially now that technology is so much more advanced and developed, we are in the age of making it happen for yourself. The world is at your fingertips. Don't wait for someone to come to you with opportunity. And this reminds me of a personal story. I was talking to this guy who was dating my friend at the time. I was just graduated from college, and he was like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a sports broadcaster, but I'm having a hard time breaking in. I lived in New York State at the time, so the competition was crazy. And he was like, well, why haven't you done it? I'm like, what do you mean? I have to have an avenue to do it. He's like, you have YouTube, you have social media. Like, you could make your own show commenting on sports news. Don't wait for that to happen. You can do it now. And I was like, oh, shoot. And that's when I realized I didn't really want to be a sports broadcaster because I didn't end up doing that. But it was a great lesson for me. I was like, oh, shoot, you're right. I don't need to do this the traditional way. Things don't happen that way anymore. So that was a great lesson. And for contestants, like, build your own audience, build your own platform.
Right. So like a lot of times we as humans, we say we want to do something, and then we look at all the things that are against us. Like, I'm not able to, Jesse, to your point, like, I'm not able to become a sports broadcaster because I don't have the experience. So I'm not able to like just go in and apply for it. Maybe that was the thing. I don't know. So when you do that, think about everything that you see as a disadvantage that you have, like, write them all down on paper and then say, like, where's the advantage inside of my disadvantage? Mm-hmm. So it causes you to think, because it's lazy thinking that just says, I'm not able to do this because, right? And you list 3 reasons why.
Yeah.
So the opposite is like, look at those things as assets and what can you do? So for me, for example, when I was building Pageant Planet, and obviously still am, right? I'm like, well, the challenge is that, with all the talk on Facebook and all like the Instagram, it's like pageantry is such a small niche. Like, how could I ever compete with like a Facebook or an Instagram? Right? That's the negative. But then when I looked at it as an asset, I'm like, pageantry is a niche. I can service this community way better than Google can, than Facebook can, and Instagram can, because it's a niche, and I can hyper focus on my niche and service community and give them features that they could never find in Instagram, Facebook, and Google. So like my disadvantage, pageantry is small, is also my advantage, that pageantry is small, and that Google, Facebook, and Instagram could never be competition with me, because they couldn't change their platform enough to specifically cater to the pageant audience, because then they would alienate such a large portion of the population. So that's just an example from Jesse and I of how you can take this and apply it to your own life.
Yes, and if, for Vanessa's sake, if you want to see more of Vanessa's current TV host appearances, you should tune into Top Chef Junior and on the new Netflix reality dating show Love is Blind. I can't personally vouch for Love is Blind. I watched the first couple episodes and I fizzled.
Renata loves it.
She did a great job. She did a great job.
Yeah, Renata loves it. Renata watched the whole season. So if you're, I was going to say if you're a sappy romantic, but I feel like you're a romantic too. I mean, you like the Bachelor series.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, Renata is like goozing with just like loves all the sappy love, like Hallmark, all that stuff. And anyways, she loved it. So you might be surprised to know that even though the media and pageants were less developed 20 years ago, that did not stop Vanessa from excelling in her career. And if you think pageants don't allow a contestant or title holder to thrive in their career of choice, then think again, because she is a case in point.
Jennifer Lopez gets all the credit for being like a mature smoke show, and Vanessa's going to be 40 this year, so J-Lo has probably a decade on her. I think isn't J-Lo 50?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she still looks incredible. So Vanessa's still one of America's sweethearts that we adore seeing on the Miss USA stage and backstage at Miss Universe. She is living happily in her marriage with 3 children. And Vanessa wants to always empower her children to believe in themselves and listen to their own voice. And this can be in pageants, cooking, basketball, or whatever it is they're naturally drawn to.
Yeah, we love to see how relatable she is through her social media and TV interviews that she has. And she's always very candid regarding both the positive experiences and challenges she faced in her life.
So she's turning 40 years old this year. She looks 30. She's turning 40 years old this year, and she just keeps looking more radiant with age. And we are excited to see which pageant she will judge or host next. And to wrap up this podcast, in Vanessa's own words, she says, "I think as I've gotten older, I've learned to look at life and take every day as it comes."
Yeah. And if you would like to be a featured contestant for our next podcast, create a contestant profile with all of your information, hidden facts, and what makes you special. Then email support@pageantplanet.com with the title podcast feature, so we can review your profile, and we'll let you know after you submit if you are scheduled. And also a special shout out to Maria Giorlando for doing the research. And thank you for listening. And if you've received any benefit from this show or from ones previous, please consider giving us a 5-star review. It might seem like a small action, but it really does help us keep the show going. Until next time, take care.
Want to become a part of pageant history? Create a free contestant or business profile on pageantplanet.com to unlock hidden features and connect with other experts throughout the world.